You are listening to From Ring to Veil.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
And we are your wedding planning gurus.
We take the stress out
and put the fun back into wedding planning. Wedding Guest Complaints, episode number 142.
Hey, Shannon, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. It's hot.
Happy almost fall tomorrow.
And it's my birthday.
It's your birthday. Everybody go to Shannon's page and wish her happy birthday. Even if it's past, do it anyway. Because you'll listen to this the day after your birthday. Oh, yeah, the day after.
On our birthday.
On your birthday.
It's
not
the
our
22nd.
Birthday. That's right, the 22nd. It's a Friday, so yeah.
Yeah, it's
hopefully
my
you are
birthday.
listening. Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm 45.
Do you remember 10 years ago when you were 35 and things started changing? I wonder if now that you're 45, things are going to change again.
Well, they already have.
Yeah, they keep changing.
I mean, come on. It's like we've had enough changes. I don't need any more.
That's right. So what's your plans for your birthday? What are you doing? Anything special?
Me and a couple of girlfriends, our girlfriends that we have here, are going to a German beer garden and restaurant on Saturday. It's the start of Oktoberfest. Hey,
that
beer.
Sounds fun. Why not?
Beer and live music. You can't really get much better than that. So
and bratwurst?
Yeah, well, you know.
Wurst. You need some wurst.
So, but yeah, that's where we're going.
Well, sorry I have to miss. Can't quite make it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. At some point, we'll get back together. Whatever.
We will always get back together. We're together now. We're just far apart.
That's right. Not in the same room together.
No.
Anyway, let's not go down that road. We don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything else, let's talk about last week's show.
Okay.
I just wanted to put out there, if you're still listening, it didn't even cross my mind that it would be offensive to anybody.
Well, I don't think it was offensive once they actually read or listened to the post. They jumped to conclusions on some of the boards that we listed it on.
Yes.
So.
Right.
And once people explained, and then we explained, or you explained, that, it's a podcast, and this was the name of a blog post that someone else did that we were just giving our opinions on, they kind of got the gist. And then some of them had some really constructive criticism about the article, and the things in it. So, I mean, I thought it turned out really well. So
it did, but, I was just not prepared for the angry faces and the... WTFs, and I just didn't realize. It just never even crossed my mind. People would just read it and take offense, and then jump to conclusions like that.
I mean, I hate to say this, but lots of people don't read things and they jump to conclusions.
Mm-hmm. So if you were one of those people that were highly offended at first, we didn't mean to do that, but
you
again,
need to listen to the podcast.
Listen to the podcast. Yeah. So. Okay, that's kind of what happened, and we've been in contact with Jane, the girl that wrote the actual article, and she thanked us for highlighting her blog post and stuff, and I'm glad she wrote it because I think it was something that needed to be said, and I'm glad we talked about it.
Right.
I thought it was great
because there is a disconnect there.
Mm-hmm. There is.
So.
There's a change that needs to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So today we found another article that we thought we would talk about.
Wedding guest complaints.
Yeah, wedding guest complaints. Because we all have complaints.
Mm.
And, everybody has their own personal personality type, right? Some people are pleasers. They got to please everybody. And so if you're looking to hear about how you can not make your guests mad, this is a great show for you. If you don't care, then, you might just skip to the second half of this show. Because we do have a listener question, which is going to be nice. So if you go to fromringtoveil.com/142, you can find the link to the actual post that we've found.
So it starts out with accommodations. Okay. If you're going to visit them to attend the wedding, you have to have somewhere to stay.
So basically, they start off complaining about the price. When I booked a room for a wedding, the lowest hotel room was $375 a night, and I can't afford that. And we all understand that. So, if you're booking rooms for your guests or booking what is it?
Block of rooms.
A block of rooms. There you go. I couldn't think of the word block. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm 44. There you go. Keep that in mind. What can your guests afford? You kind of know their situations pretty well, right?
And maybe do a block in 2 different tier of hotels. Not just a 4-star hotel, but, go down to a Courtyard by Marriott.
Right. They should not be $375 a night.
Right.
And I also guess it has a lot to do with where the wedding is going to be.
Right. I mean, if it's in a major city and you're having it at that hotel, like that's $375 a night. There's usually other hotels around that you can block rooms out for people who can't afford $375 per night.
That's right.
Just keep that in mind.
Now, the next one is a little bit different, and where they say the only place to stay were bed and breakfasts with only 2-star ratings, and they were also expensive. Which, if that's true, and that's the only place you have to stay, what can you do?
Yeah.
Unless go stay in a town or 2 over and just plan on driving in, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a solution for that, because if you're going, especially to a destination wedding, maybe there's not a lot of things around. What are you going to do?
Exactly. I mean, there's not much that you can do. So I think that's just kind of a suck it up and bear it, or like I said, go a couple towns down and find yourself a cheaper place or a better place to stay. Yeah. Really, I mean, you can't please everybody. Well, number one. Next thing is dress codes. People are complaining about dress codes.
I'm sorry, but I'm glad some of the weddings have dress codes. Because
yeah, absolutely.
I'm from a small town in Texas, and people would just show up in the wedding with anything on. Shorts, jeans, ratty t-shirts. I'm like, you're at a wedding.
Right.
Why are you wearing board shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops?
Right.
So
the first one, they're complaining about a specific thing that she wanted, meaning the bride, all the women in attendance to wear purple. I understand. That's just a little extreme. You're inviting these people to come to your wedding, but telling them what if she doesn't have a purple dress? Then she'd have to buy a new dress, and maybe she can't afford that. It's a little bit much to expect from your guest, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, you could suggest, would love for you to wear purple, but you have to wear purple. That's just so it kind of made the girl mad. And maybe she was, not taking it in the right way. But even still, you can't tell people what to buy to wear to your wedding. I really think that's going too far.
Yeah. And then the next one is, the wedding took place on a windy beach, and we had to wear a black tie. That's just...
Yeah. Consider your guests and what they're going to have to get through. I mean, that just seems silly. That really seems silly. Black tie on a beach. We've had beach talks before.
Yeah.
This is just, that's...
I mean, you're wearing black tie, you're in patent leather shoes and loafers, and you get sand all in them, and it's very uncomfortable.
And it's really windy, like we've said.
Yeah. So...
And it would have been much more pleasant and enjoyable for your guests if they weren't in a black tie, attire. So,
yes.
There you go. If that's the case, you want black tie, don't go to a beach. Don't have your wedding on a beach.
Or that just have it at a resort on the beach where you actually have the ceremony at the resort and not on the beach.
Right. Okay, next we're moving on to ceremonies. I can't understand why wanting to make your friends feel included in the wedding, but is it really necessary to have over 10 bridesmaids?
I think that's way too many. On the flower end perspective, because it costs you at least $75 to $150 at least for a bridesmaid's bouquet if you're going with real flowers through a florist. That's a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, just that. I mean, just that only.
Right. And plus your fiance has to find 10 other people to go along with it.
Well, if you're doing the wedding, but not everybody has to have matchy.
Well, I mean, but more than likely he will have to find 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I'm sorry, I don't have 10 friends, so...
Yeah. 10 really good friends that you want to put in your wedding. Yeah. Even still. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. There's plenty of other ways to include these people in your wedding and in important ways without having them be a stand-up bridesmaid. So consider that.
Okay. This one says, it wasn't devastating, but it was a July wedding in humid North Carolina in an authentically old church with a long ceremony and no AC. There were no screens on the doors or windows. So in 3 words, steam bath with bugs.
Oh my gosh.
Gross. Can you imagine what that church smelled like afterwards?
Oh yeah.
And what your guests will smell like at the reception?
Oh yeah. These just seem like the guests weren't considered when in planning this. Unless, let's say that there was AC and it went out and it was really not under their control. But really, people, if you're planning your wedding, please consider things like this because it just puts a damper on the whole day.
Plus, I mean, if there are, older people in attendance, they can't get that hot.
That's right. The next one, the ceremony was way too long. Now, we've talked about this. There are religious ceremonies that are long, and it's just the way they are. And you've got to know going into it. So maybe you say in your invite, this is going to be a longer ceremony.
Just say this is a traditional Catholic wedding ceremony with mass attached. So, it's going to be at least an hour or more.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So maybe if they don't have time or if certain circumstances, your guests can't make it to the ceremony but would love to come to the reception, it's just a nicety to consider them.
The next one is, it's a complaint, but it really shouldn't be. If you can't go, you can't go, but I'll read it anyway. I'm supposed to go to a destination wedding in Hawaii. It's a nice idea, but it's going to deplete my savings and my vacation time. If I'm going to Hawaii, I want to go on my own terms. That just seems like her own beef.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
a destination wedding. They're inviting you. You don't have to go. So
That's right. There's no, you have to go and we'll be very offended if you don't come to our wedding attached to that.
Right.
There shouldn't be. I was at an outdoor wedding in late October. They did it in a tent with heaters, but it was still freezing. If it's October, have an indoor wedding.
Well, here in Texas, October is optimum to have an outdoor wedding.
So it really depends on where you are.
Right. I mean, up there in Seattle, October, rain, wind, that's when it starts. It might not be feasible to have an outdoor wedding in October. But
yeah, definitely. Consider that.
Yeah.
Moving on to receptions.
One wedding I went to had a 7-hour gap between ceremony and the reception, and everyone showed up drunk when it was finally started. I can understand this. There is no reason to have a 7-hour gap between your ceremony and reception. I don't understand that. Why would you have a midday wedding and then a late night reception or something like that? Or did they have
early morning? And then,
I don't know what you would do in between that time. Go back. I mean, that's all you would do was go back to the hotel or something and drink.
Yeah. Or take pictures. But even still, it doesn't take 7 hours.
Yeah. And what does the bride do in between this ceremony and the reception in her dress and her makeup and her hair? That just seems impossible to me. So
that really does. The next one, the reception was a 45-minute drive from the ceremony.
Wow.
If you just think about Austin, if it's way north ceremony and it's a way south reception, it's going to take you 45 minutes sometimes to drive that.
Yeah, I know, but why would you do that?
Maybe because you got a really good deal. And maybe they both hold significance for you two as a couple. Yeah. Or, maybe you're getting married in your church and the reception is out in the middle of nowhere where you can party all night. You know what I mean? There's reasons for that. I don't think that's too terribly bad.
A solution would be to provide transportation.
Right. That would be really good. Have everybody park in a central location and have shuttles going to
have
wherever.
A party bus.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's that uncommon or even bad to ask of your guests. So sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm not a fan of making the groomsmen and the bridesmaid do a dancing entrance at the reception. Can I just say, this is my opinion, don't do it.
It was kind of a fad. It's kind of going out now a little bit. It's not as popular. You're not seeing as many YouTubes about it anymore.
I just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they're all in, they should do it. If there are people that don't want to do it, they shouldn't be made to do it. Right? I'm not doing that. If I'm somebody's bridesmaid and they want me to do that, I'll be like, I'll skip this time.
Go find someone else. I'm not doing that.
Maybe half the bridesmaids wants to do that or whatever. You could work that. You shouldn't make anybody do that because I think dancing for one is a personal thing. And if somebody doesn't do it, don't make them do it. That's my opinion. There you go.
I'd just say don't do it.
All right. You could avoid all that by not doing it. That's right. Could have a boring... No, I'm just kidding. Before the bride and groom entered the reception hall, the best man tried to organize a flash mob. Oh, goodness. There is just not enough time to do that.
So
worse. We'd all start dancing when he started his speech. Nobody at my table wanted to do it, but we all did. It was lame, and it lasted for a whole song. That was poorly timed, and I haven't even heard of anybody else doing that. So hopefully that was just a one-time thing.
The next one is, I always find it uncomfortable when the groom removes the bride's garter belt.
Not the garter belt.
Yeah, well, that's what garter. It says, but the garter.
Yeah, surely not the garter belt.
Some of them can be really embarrassing.
Yeah, because some of them are kind of raunchy.
Yeah, so...
I agree.
I mean, it's part of the wedding, and sometimes, right? And usually now it's getting to where they're going away from that. So,
right. So maybe you don't have to worry about that too much. But again, as the bride planning the wedding, I got to think about what's my new husband going to do, and how is he going to? Is he going to be raunchy about it? Is he going to feel comfortable doing it? That kind of thing. And so plus, consider that.
Yeah, and then plus, along with the cake eating thing too. I mean,
right?
You've got to talk about that beforehand. Like, you are not smashing cake in my face.
Right. Agree.
And just like you go under my dress, you grab the garter and you pull it off, not with your teeth. You've got to talk about these things before.
Yeah, you do. You really got to lay these out and make... On to seating arrangements. This is always a fun one because this can be a big, huge source of stress for the couple planning the wedding.
Right. Okay. The first one is, the centerpieces were so tall I couldn't even see across the dining table, and I could only hold conversations with the people to my left or right. We've talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
You need to make, if you're going to do tall centerpieces, you need to make the vase at least 24 inches in height. And then put the flowers on top. Mm-hmm. So you can see around and see through if you're doing clear vases. Some of them can go up to 30 to 32 inches. You just don't want them to topple over. So I would say 36 is the max. That's a very tall centerpiece.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So,
but if you think about it, I would even say sit down at a table and look at what you have planned and how is that going to affect the people at the table.
Right. Because that's what I always do when I had consultations with my brides for flowers, I would sit the 24-inch tall vase in the center of my round table. And I said, this is how tall it is. Your flowers will sit on top. You can actually see around you, but you're not going to see over because of the flowers.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just something, I mean, it's the bride and groom's wedding. If they want tall centerpieces, just make sure you have your significant other or your date, your plus one next to you so you can talk to them.
That's right. I didn't bring a date, so they sat me at a table of single strangers rather than my relatives or friends. Oops. That was a mistake. But, you know, if you look at it from the bride and groom's perspective, they're probably trying to make it easy for you to meet people. I mean, it wasn't like, they probably didn't do that just to be mean. You know, you can't talk to anybody. You know what I mean?
Sit you over here in the corner table.
They were being encouraging. You know, here's some more singles. Talk to them. Don't you think?
I don't know. I just, if he was a friend of the bride and groom, they would have known he had friends in the, you know, with the guests. So they should have set him with somebody that he would have talked to.
They could have.
Yeah.
And again, source of stress and worry, and they probably put a lot of thought into this seating chart and, you know, probably went back and forth and trying to figure out where everybody, they don't usually just throw names at the board and however they fall, that's how they fall. So got to consider that too.
So the next one is such a disorganized event with lack of seating arrangements. I can see that. I always think there should be some sort of seating arrangement, at least a table assignment. You don't have to sit in a assignment. Yeah, you don't have to sit in a specific spot at the table, but you have a table that you're supposed to sit at. Because, I mean, if you're having a full catered meal, the caterers need to know who ordered what.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, we had this problem with the wedding that we did, that we had to make cards for the table, but they picked up their card and set them where they were going to sit, and it had what their entree was on the card. It wasn't pretty, but hey, you know, the caterer had to know whose meal goes to who.
Exactly.
So,
also, if they have the long tables with benches or even just chairs on each side, like the family style, that's not necessarily something you can set a seating chart for.
Right.
So when it's in that arrangement, it's usually just sit where you want.
Right. And it's family style, so you don't have to worry about entrees. Like if you're having a buffet or something like that, then, you know, table assignments work, or, you know, just a free for all.
It shouldn't, that I would say that shouldn't be disorganized or anything like that. That should just be, hey, we're all family here, and just sit where you want, you know, with whomever you want.
All right. Next, we're talking about food.
At one wedding, they served only vegan food.
Oh, my goodness.
So imagine trying to feed 200 people on a vegan diet, and a lot of it wasn't very good. If it were a vegetarian wedding, there would have been more options, or at least a pasta.
Consider your audience, people.
Yes, yes. Some of us love meat.
And just because you're vegan doesn't mean everybody else is.
Yeah. And like he said, vegetarian has a lot more options.
Right.
And you're going to please a lot more people with that instead of vegan. And you know, understanding that you are a vegan, but not everybody else is.
Right. And
you can't force people to eat that mess. I'm just kidding.
And then the next one is on the other perspective. Sometimes there's no vegetarian option, and all I have to eat is bread and potatoes.
Oh. Oops.
Yeah.
Well, and we talked about this when we had our catering episode with 12 Baskets. And they talked about having these options.
Right.
Even kid options. I think that's a very good thing to do. At least give them an option.
Right.
The worst is when you go to cocktail hour and there's nowhere to eat your food. You have to stand and balance your cocktails and appetizers. I agree. I
hate that.
I can't stand that. Even if there's just chairs everywhere, it's still hard because you got to put your drink somewhere.
Right.
And you got to set it on the floor. It's going to get spilled. I mean, it's just not, have tables.
Yeah. Have
really.
high
If you're going to
boys.
serve, If you're going to serve food and cocktails, have somewhere to put your food or drink.
Have a few high boys up there and have a few lower options too, because not everybody wants to stand the whole time. Especially if you're having a cocktail hour where they're like resetting the room or you're having lots of pictures taken. No one wants to stand up for an hour. So, I mean, have some seats around and some high boys and low boy tables. Have a lounge area. That would be awesome.
Yes, absolutely. I'm totally in for the lounge area. Couches and fireplace, all that stuff.
Okay, Kim.
Sorry. It's fall, I can't help it.
We weren't served dinner until 10 p.m. Everyone was starving. Oh my goodness, that would be horrible.
Can I say, I went to an event recently where it was just a huge mess. There was like close to, what was it? 100 people maybe in this room, and the tables were squashed together. And I found out by asking one of the servers, I said, did people not show up? What's going on? Did you guys have people just not show up for serving, for their server position? And she said, well, actually, it was going to be a buffet. But as before this started, my boss said, well, we're going to go ahead and serve everybody. And they have 2 servers for 100 people. I mean, and it took forever because then they had to plate everything.
Oh my goodness.
It was all in buffet dishes, and then they had to go ahead and plate everything. I think what happened was they didn't allow for so many people with their food, and they were afraid that they would run out of food if they sent them through the buffet. So we didn't eat till really late, and it was just tiny. I mean, it was not planned very well. So I totally understand that. Don't invite people to have a sit-down dinner at your wedding and not be served till 10 p.m. That's too much.
Yes. I think it should be you're introduced into the room, you sit down, you eat, then the speeches, dessert, cake, whatever, and then the rest of the evening will go on as a party. But you need to feed your guests because your older people in your wedding are not going to stay there until 10 p.m.
That's right.
They're usually going to leave before that. So you need to...
And then they miss out on the food.
Right. So you need to really have dinner kind of first in your reception.
Why would you bother spending thousands on your flowers if your food is going to taste just okay?
Well...
I can't say anything to that.
I mean,
I'd pick flowers over food.
It might not have been their problem. They might have thought it was going to taste really good. And I mean, food taste is your opinion. They probably thought it tasted wonderful.
That's right. I agree. It's subjective. Some people like it, some people don't, and maybe that's all they could afford.
Yeah.
But again, flowers should have more money allotted to them. That's just my opinion. You guys know I like the flowers. Music. The DJ only played songs that were popular 10 years ago. Are we really still doing the electric slide?
Hey, it's a classic. No.
Sure it is.
That's when you need to pick a great DJ.
Absolutely.
You need to screen them. You need to ask people that have used them before to know what type of songs they played. And this, on the other hand, that could have been what they wanted to play.
That's true.
Wanted him to play. Maybe they met 10 years ago.
That's true. But as the planning couple, you need to keep your guest also in mind. Are they going to enjoy this music too? And that's why many DJs play a variety of stuff so that everybody has a chance to dance and have a fun time, right?
Yeah.
So, I totally agree with you. Get a good DJ and then go through the list with him.
I mean, you can have your songs from 10 years ago, but intermingle them with, other things. Uh-oh. Here's the next category. It's photography.
Uh-oh. Always a hot topic.
Yeah. It was a small wedding, and at the last minute, the bride asked me to do her a favor and act as the photographer.
Oh my
I could not enjoy the reception. That is a big no-no.
No, don't do that to your guests.
Right. I mean, there are always exceptions. like if your photographer backed out. But if your photographer backed out and you have a contract and they were supposed to supply you with a backup photographer, then, there's something wrong there.
That's right. You should definitely have some kind of a backup plan for that.
Right.
Either with the photographer or on your own, right?
Right. And not your guests.
Not your guest.
I mean, if you just didn't hire a photographer and you're saying, I'll ask so-and-so on the day of, that's a big no-no. Yeah.
Because you got to be prepared for that. The photographer shamelessly flirted with anyone over 40. It definitely took an awkward turn when my mother, my father, and his wife all gathered for a group photo with me and my wife. And he kept saying things to my mother like, "Hey, gorgeous, how could you possibly be here by yourself?" Yeah, I don't know about that. Who, like, what kind of references did this photographer come with? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't even know what to say about that one. Okay. Wedding favors.
I appreciate the wedding favors, but they're getting unoriginal. I swear I managed to collect at least 4 sets of the same 2 peas in a pod shot salt and pepper shakers over the year. You know Kim and I's stance on wedding favors. If they're not useful, don't do them. And
salt and pepper shakers are not really useful.
No. I personally would not want 2 peas in a pod salt and pepper shakers. They would go in the trash. So
that's right. We had a really good show on wedding favors. Episode 35. Check it out from ringdevale.com/35. We gave you the do's and don'ts of wedding favors and found some really good ideas if you are going to do wedding favors.
Yeah. And if you're just going to do something like salt and pepper shakers, we're a definite no on that. So
yeah, we'll pass.
Yeah.
All right, cash bars. Now, this is also a very sticky situation. Some people can't afford to just have free-flowing alcohol for all their guests. Well, then
they should provide beer and wine and water, iced tea, and lemonade and just be over with it.
Right.
But okay, here's the thing. You never ask a guest to pay for a drink in your own home. Why should their wedding be any different? Which I think that is true. I would not partake in drinking if I had to pay for it at a wedding.
Well, like you said, if they're supplying beer and wine and other drinks, but also have the option for their guests to purchase, mixed drinks or whatever it is that they have to have, I think that's okay.
Not me. Cash bars are a big no-no for me. If you can't afford a whole cash bar, have a signature drink and then beer, wine.
Signature drink, okay.
Yeah. But so you don't have to have a full bar. You can have a signature drink, beer, wine, iced tea, lemonade, water, and then be done with it. But if you're going to have a bar with mixed drinks, it does not need to be a cash bar. You need to pay for it. That's my own opinion.
Okay. I would think it would be just fine, especially if you're already providing beer and wine. If that doesn't suit their fancy, they can purchase, whatever it is they want from the bar. I think that's just fine, but I guess it's up to you. And apparently this person didn't like that.
As I would not. So,
all right, the wedding date. You picked a bad day. We love you, but we'd rather be with our moms on Mother's Day or watching the game on Super Bowl Sunday. And please don't take our holiday weekends too.
Yes.
Dude, these people.
Well, I mean, it's true. Why would you want to have a weekend wedding on Mother's Day or Easter or Super Bowl Sunday? Come on.
Right.
I mean, you can have your wedding on the Saturday before Super Bowl Sunday.
Right.
But not on Sunday at 4 o'clock when the Super Bowl starts.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Now, Easter weekend, it's a Sunday deal.
I know, but
family might be coming into town and you can have it on Saturday.
That's still almost a no to me because you're with family. With your family. If you're a guest and you're not family of this bride and groom, then, that's kind of awkward. Ooh, I have to leave and go to this wedding. I'll be back tomorrow.
True. I mean, I guess it depends on if you're having a huge wedding with everybody or more of a small, intimate family type wedding. family, close friends, whatever. If you have something small like that and all your family's going to be in town and you're like, hey, everybody's going to be here. Let's have a quick wedding on Saturday. I think that would be okay. But, yeah, Mother's Day, Christmas, New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, I could kind of see that one. Christmas Eve,
I don't think Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are sacred, and I would not expect anybody to come to my wedding if I had it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Yeah, they seem romantic, but really and truly they're a bitch to get to, so.
Yeah, that's true. Invitations.
It would be nice to include all the details we need with the invitations. What day, what time the wedding will take place, what is happening between ceremony and reception, am I allowed a +1? Is there a registry? Are there clothing requirements, special travel arrangements for a hard-to-get location, weather backup plans? That would be a huge invitation. I mean, yes, this would be where a wedding website would come in, I would think.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
On the +1 thing, if it's not addressed to you and a +1, it's just you.
I think nowadays people don't know that.
They need to. I mean,
they do. So listen here, guests. If it's not addressed to you then it's just you.
So, I mean, if it just says Miss Sally Hansen and not Miss Sally Hansen and guest, you don't get to bring a +1.
And in the same vein, if it's to Mr. and Mrs. And not to the family of, it's only for the adults. But that should absolutely be clear in the invitation, though. I do. And again, it should also be in the invitation if they don't get a +1. Just because, to make it absolutely clear, because as we know, people don't know this stuff. And they might just go ahead and bring people.
And that's a big no-no.
If you have a wedding website, put that in the invitation. And here's all the deets. Go to this website. I think that's absolutely the best way to go.
Right. And there are lots of places out there for great wedding websites now. So.
Yes, there are. Tons of them. Plus, you can't, sometimes even if you email people, they lose the email or they don't see the email, goes to their spam folder. You have no idea if they read it, all that stuff. You can't guarantee that an email with all of this information is going to actually get to your guests. Kind of like the just regular mail.
Yeah.
They get lost too. Maybe you don't have a letter correct in their email address, but whatever. That's where this wedding website is.
Yeah.
I
would definitely.
That's what you need to do.
Like to have. If I was a guest to a wedding, and you can't put everything on the invitations, because invitations are expensive. I mean, that whole packet of thing is expensive to buy, and plus expensive to mail. So, a wedding website is optimum.
All right, so those are some of the complaints that guests at weddings have, and we thought we would share those with you guys so that you could take those into consideration while you're planning your wedding. And hopefully you won't have any complaints from any of your guests. But then again, we don't always agree on everything, so
nope.
You can't please everybody. Just know that. You can't please everybody. You're going to have somebody complain about something, but it's okay. It's your day. You do how you want.
So it's listener question time. Woohoo!
I should go back to last one, and I'll take that clip. Listener question. I think I'll do that.
Okay.
We'll have our own little clip now.
Hello, ladies. I need some help. The venue we have booked has just been closed until the fires are contained, and I'm not sure if we should look for another venue. Our wedding is in March, and the invitations have been sent out since this is a destination wedding.
I've reached out to the vendors, and they are all crossing their fingers for us. It hits close to our hearts since this was the place, and then Cascade Locks, I prayed for my man, and we just spent a beautiful vacation at. Multnomah Falls Lodge has been an icon in Oregon for a very long time. What do you ladies suggest?
Okay. Just to let you know some background, Kim and I have been there.
Yes.
Multnomah Falls, anyway, and it's gorgeous.
It is.
The fires have been devastating there. They closed it is it been destroyed in the fires? Are they going to open it up? And I mean, March is 6 months away, right?
That's true. Okay, so I just looked at the news, right? Or I just looked for Cascade Locks. Cascade Locks business owners hoping to get back to normal after wildfire closure. So, is back open for business after Eagle Creek Fire came dangerously close to town. So, it looks like they were closed, but that they are now opening again. So, I think she doesn't really have to worry too much about it. I think they're probably going to open up. And like you said, March is a long time away. I would say when it gets 3 months ahead of time and it's closed, or it's burned down, or whatever has happened, that's when you need to make some changes.
And just because you sent your invitations out already doesn't mean that you can't send something else out, like a postcard, and say, hey, due to the fires, blah blah blah, we're going to have to change the destination,
or even call them and let them know. I think that would be even better. But to me, it looks like they're going to be okay. I feel like she's trying to be proactive. And I get that. And I think that's great. But I think that she's going to be okay. Because I think they have those fires pretty well contained. And
plus, it's starting to snow and cool down and rain. And so the fires they all kind of slack off a little. So hopefully they're being contained, because I haven't heard much about them lately. I know y'all had a day of ash.
Yeah, we did. But it's been raining for the last couple of days, and I'm hoping that that's been a really big help on all the fires. So I think she didn't give us her first name. Yeah. But Future Miss Bryant, sorry. Future Miss Bryant, I think you are probably in the clear and not have to worry about it too much.
Yeah. But this goes back to last week's question that we had. I mean, how are people who have weddings like from now until the end of the year in places like the Florida Keys or in Houston, where they're, it was all flooded and they have to repair all this stuff, or in, the Texas coast? How are you adjusting and readjusting your plans?
Right. That would be really, really awesome if you could email or message us and let us know.
Yeah, because we would love to have a show on that, and we would love to talk to you as well. So,
Exactly. And remember, you can reach us anytime at info@fromringtoveil.com. Send us those comments. Send us these questions. We're loving these questions.
Yeah.
I just love to have a listener question every week. That's awesome. Thank you again for all the questions that you guys have sent in, all of the comments, all of the shares. Our Facebook our page is growing, and we're considering a group, aren't we, Shannon?
Yes.
If you think we should open up a group, FromRingToVeil.com wedding planning group, we would love to hear your comments on that. Should we do it? We don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
And plus, soon we will have some big announcements for you, but we haven't got those situated yet. But keep the lookout for it.
Yes. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We should be there.
And until next time, no stress, no worries. Keep calm and listen on.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Facebook, From Ring to Veil, on Twitter, @From Ring to Veil, and on our website, FromRingToVeil.com.
Music provided by bensound.com.